Hello, welcome to Youth Voices of Greater Cincinnati. My name is Connor McFarland and this is my... Okay, just edit that
Haley
out.
Vilker.
And today we have a very special guest, Saundra Oprea.
Thank you guys for having me on your show.
Can you tell us what you do, what role you have at the Red Cross?
I have an interesting role. There's only one of me at Red Cross in my region. So I am the Regional Disaster Preparedness Program Manager, and I oversee 2 of our national emergency preparedness programs that works with the community.
What are the advantages and disadvantages at this career?
Oh, one of the advantages is that I get to save lives. It's not something that I've ever gotten to do in any other job. And I didn't have to take a lot of medical training to do it. So that's a huge advantage too. But I get to work with kids. I get to work with community members. I get to support our other staff members and all of our volunteers. One of the disadvantages might be that I never know what I'm going to be doing during the day. Because it changes quite a bit, but that's kind of an advantage too, because I always get to do a lot of new stuff and a lot of fun stuff. So my role is always a little bit flexible.
I hear a lot about blood donation. Why should we donate blood?
Blood donation is huge in Red Cross. Not so much in the Cincinnati area. We have a blood partner, Hawksworth Blood, that does all of our blood in the Cincinnati area, but in other areas and even in our own region and in the greater Cincinnati-Dayton region, we do blood donations because people need blood, right? It's all over our bodies, inside of our bodies, luckily, if you're lucky. But sometimes the blood gets out, whether we've been injured or we're having surgery, or maybe we have a medical condition where we need a blood transfusion. So we need blood from somebody else. And Red Cross helps coordinate that through blood donations. So we take blood from people and give it to other people, kind of.
I've personally never done that, so I have the question, does it hurt when you do it?
Have you had a shot?
Yes, I have.
That's about what it feels like.
It's just a shot and taking out blood.
Yeah, so they put a needle into a vein and then the blood goes out. And when they take a certain amount of blood that's safe to take, then they stop.
Is the Red Cross doing anything to help the victims of Hurricane Michael?
Yeah, we're busy with Hurricane Florence, Hurricane Michael. There was another one that hit the Marianas most recently, which is a U.S. territory, and we have volunteers going out to that. The Red Cross primarily is a disaster response organization, and we're chartered by Congress. So we do a lot of disaster response, not only for the big events like hurricanes or forest fires, but also in our own community. We go out and respond to home fires in the Cincinnati area pretty much every day.
What is the worst disaster you've ever seen on the job?
Last year after Hurricane Irma, I deployed to respond to St. Thomas in the U.S. Virgin Islands. And the U.S. Virgin Islands escaped the worst of Hurricane Irma. The British Islands actually got a lot worse impact from that hurricane. But the majority of the Virgin Islands, no structure was left undamaged. 90% of structures that I saw didn't have roofs anymore, or, things were just all over the place. There were telephone poles down in the road that we drove around. And people were amazingly resilient. The community came together, made sure that everybody had food or water, or, knew where to get resources. So even though it was the most devastating, it was also really inspiring because people came together to help.
In your opinion, what are the most important classes that your organization provides?
All of our volunteers receive free training in whatever job they choose to volunteer in. And those are amazing classes for me because it helps train our volunteers to be able to respond to any need in any disaster. But Red Cross services aren't only disaster and blood related. We also offer first aid CPR classes, which, other than my job, is the other part of Red Cross that saves lives. Because CPR is all about saving lives, giving those compressions and breaths of life until medical personnel can arrive on scene. And then first aid, whether you're bandaging a wound to make sure it doesn't get an infection or applying a tourniquet so that there's not a lot of blood loss and you don't need a transfusion, also saves lives. But we also have babysitter training, we have lifeguard training, we have all sorts of really cool stuff that, I don't know, it's hard to say. All the classes are really good.
In your professional opinion, what can we be doing to help more in the community?
Every community needs to build resilience and emergency preparedness. So one of the programs that I have works with 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade students. It's called the Pillowcase Project, and it's sponsored by Disney. And we teach kids how to be prepared for emergencies, how to create their own emergency kit, how to learn more about being prepared for emergencies, and how to take that message home. The other program that I work with actually goes into residents' homes, provides free working smoke alarms, and then education on being prepared for emergencies, what to do when an emergency strikes. So the education piece and the preparedness piece, building that resiliency level and building that preparedness level, is really what the community needs. We need to be able to face disasters that are going to happen every day, and sometimes they're big disasters, and know what to do to make sure that everybody is safe.
I heard you mention this pillowcase project. I see you have a pillowcase here full of stuff. Would you mind showing us what's inside?
I do. This is one of our Pillowcase Project Disney-sponsored pillowcases. And as you can see, it's been decorated with some emergency preparedness messaging. And it also has the Disney characters on it, which makes it really, really fun and cool. And then inside, these are for the 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade students. So kids can build their own emergency kit. It's not meant for an entire household. It's not meant to be like, this is going to get me through Armageddon. This is to keep a 3rd, 4th, or 5th grade student a little bit more prepared and a little bit more comfortable during emergencies. And what we teach them to put in their personal emergency kit is different than the information we give them for the entire household. But we always start with a first aid kit, because one of the things that we say is if you're already experiencing an emergency, you don't want to have another one. So if you get a scratch or you get a little bit of a wound, you want to be able to take care of it, even if the first responders aren't able to get a hold of you right away. An emergency might mean that you're sheltering in place for a couple of days. Being able to take care of yourself for a couple of days is really important. And then we also stress having a light source. Emergencies often break out or break power lines. So having a light source and having a safe light source, like a flashlight, not candles. Because again, just like with the first aid kit, if you're using candles and you're sheltering in place and somebody knocks over the candle, a fire could start. And then you're sheltering in place and you have a home fire, and now you have multiple emergencies and maybe nowhere to go, especially if you're sheltering in place because of an air emergency or because you're stuck, right? We have shelf-stable food. We have, all the way in the bottom, water. And we talk about with the kids why you need water, not just to drink and stay hydrated, but maybe to keep things clean, maybe to brush your teeth, maybe to clean those wounds. There are all sorts of uses for water. And then having things like a blanket, which can be used for warmth or to shelter, having a special item, because especially for kids, emergencies can get boring. Emergencies can be scary, and having something there that lifts your spirits a little bit or that you can play with is really important. Also falls down. And then some common things like a whistle to alert first responders of where you are or be able to get back in touch with people. We talk about making your emergency kit something that is what you do when you have time. You grab your emergency kit. You don't do it if you're experiencing a home fire, because in a home fire you have less than 2 minutes to get out. If you have a working smoke alarm, right? If you don't have a working smoke alarm, you might not have any time to get out at all, so you're not going to grab anything. But with the kids, they are most often the fatalities in a home fire. So teaching them how to be prepared, how to create their home fire evacuation plan, not to grab their emergency kit, but to get out as fast as possible and call 911 and then let the first responders go back in for anything is crucial. And that kind of messaging and that kind of education is really what is most needed.
What types of people usually volunteer at the Red Cross?
Everyone volunteers with Red Cross. So we have people who are retired, people who are active in the community, people who have a little bit of time on their hands, or people who are volunteering from home. We have all sorts of jobs available and all sorts of need that people can fill.
Has your time working here been gratifying for you?
It's been incredibly rewarding. I've learned so much about the human spirit and about our community, and I've been able to see how easy it is to make an impact. So yes.
Personally, what is the most fun thing about your job?
The most fun I have is definitely working with kids. They get really excited, and my favorite question is, what is the worst thing that could happen in a home fire? And they all get really serious, and they all kind of go, we could get hurt. And it's like, yes, yes. And we don't want you to get hurt because you are the most important thing there is. Nothing else matters. So you have to get out. And then they get all excited and they start talking about what kind of practices they're going to do to be able to get out of their house. And it's just neat to see them kind of get that message and understand that they can take action and they can do something to make sure they're safe.
On the exact opposite note, what is the most grueling thing about your job?
I would say the opposite of the most rewarding thing. We respond to home fires every day, and not everybody does get out. And it's not getting hurt, it's dying. And with the most common fire deaths being that of children, I get those calls sometimes where a volunteer is on the scene and they're calling to report that a child has died in a fire. And that hurts. I have children, and my work is to make sure that people don't die in fires. So it hurts to have people die in fires.
Do you have any recommendations for someone who may want to take the same career path as you?
Do it. Absolutely. Being able to work and have your mission in life be to give back to your community is amazing. Working alongside a staff that is 90%, if not more, volunteers, people who just want to do something good with their time, makes every day incredibly rewarding.
That's all the questions we have. Thank you. Thank you for watching.
Thank you guys so much for having me on your show.